I'm Bob Vila. Welcome home again. We're insulating the house today, and not just fiberglass insulation. We've got several different products to show you. One of them is a new type of house wrap, but we're also quite excited about installing some sound attenuation bats in the house, which are really going to help control noise. Also, we're working on the backyard deck. All that redwood is here. And inside, a terrific product for removing many layers of paint. It's literally a peel-away type of process. Stick around. It's good to have you home again.
Bob Vila's home again.
We're going to get started in the attic, and we're talking insulation. You know, the attic is the most important place to have insulation because heat rises, and if there is no insulation, heat escapes. Now, we're not going to have an attic. We're going to have a teenage living room here on the third floor. So the other thing that we have to worry about is sound control, music control. And Eric Anderson from Anderson Insulation is helping us out in that respect. Before we talk about controlling the heat and energy loss, let's talk about controlling the noise. What is this product we're putting in?
This product is an Owens Corning product called Quiet Zone, and it's specially designed to reduce residential noises within the structure, and it's used as a separation barrier between bathroom walls and other living spaces, or between recreation rooms, game rooms, and sleeping spaces.
Now, you're using it within inside walls. Don't you have to worry about moisture getting trapped in it?
No, Bob, this product really doesn't have a vapor barrier. It has a paper covering for ease of installation, but it's not a vapor barrier at all. It's just to facilitate the installation of the product.
So that's not an issue. You know, this really makes a lot of sense. Not only in walls where you're trying to isolate the bedroom from the living room, this is the wall where we're going to have the entertainment equipment, the big screen TV and the stereo and everything, so that it's a very good idea to be able to control that here. And will we also install it in the floor?
Yes, there'll also be soundproofing insulation in the floor as well to totally enclose this game room space so that there won't be any noise infiltration into other parts of the structure.
I love it. I think it's the best thing about the whole job. Now let's talk about how we are actually insulating the house. This wall here basically is like an exterior wall.
Right. This is a 2x6 knee wall that separates this game room from the eave space under the attic rafters.
And what's this material here?
This material is pink wrap made by Owens Corning that's specially designed to prevent air infiltration. This wall is essentially like the exterior wall of the house. You've got a vented soffit, and there's going to be a substantial amount of wind blowing through that soffit up against the back of this wall. If we don't have this membrane here, the insulation in front of it could conceivably get moving air within the glass blanket.
Right.
If that happens, it no longer insulates.
That's a very good tip, because if you do have moving air against the bats, you actually are reducing your R factor considerably, right?
Absolutely. Insulation works in still air. If you have moving air within the fibrous bat, it's only as good as to where that moving air stops and the still air starts within the bat.
And the house wrap still allows any moisture that gets through the wall and into the insulation to escape?
Absolutely. It's a good wind barrier, but it's a permeable membrane to any type of moisture that may be trapped in that area.
Okay, now what about these?
Those are attic circulators, which are basically put into the rafter spaces to allow moisture and also the wind from the exterior of the house to ride up and over the insulation. They go up in between the rafter spaces, and there's two channels that allow this air to circulate up and over, and as a result, maintain the still air within the insulation and also evacuate any moisture that may occur at the underside of the roof.
And that's very critical from the point of view of keeping paint on your surface.
Absolutely, and in the wintertime as well for ice dams, because if you don't have this here and the underside of your roof is warm without any cool air circulating, the snow melts and ice dams form at the eaves.
Right. Now, Eric, how do you deal with, when you're installing insulation, very often this can be a real nuisance. You've got your electrical wire right in the middle of the bay. What's the best way to install the bat right there?
Well, in an area like this, Bob, you really have to split the bat. If we measure it to the exact length of the space, we cut our bat, and then that wire runs exactly through the middle.
And you split it that way.
So we split it, and we have insulation on the back side of the wire and insulation in the front.
But you've avoided compressing it.
Right, exactly.
Which is the one thing you don't want to do.
You want to entirely fill the space. If you compress a bat, you're going to get less R value.
Now, once we've put in all the bats, you're also putting a visqueen layer, a moisture barrier. Is that important?
It's very important because that maintains the moisture within the structure and doesn't allow it to migrate to the exterior of the structure where it could ostensibly condense against the outside wall.
And condense means you're lifting paint or bubbling paint.
Absolutely.
Which is one of the big problems. Okay, let's talk R factors. What have we got in the wall here?
This is an R21 bat, which is 5.5 inches thick, and it's designed to go within a 2x6 stud space.
Okay, and in the roof?
And in the roof we have an R38 bat, which is a 10-inch bat, high density, and that fills the 2x12 rafter space in conjunction with the vents.
Terrific. All right, we're going to be warm in winter around here. Eric, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
We've got a break for some messages. Stick around. Okay, well, we're going to be insulating for days to come. You know, 30% of all this fiberglass insulation that we're putting in here is actually made from recycled glass bottles. Anyway, right now, let's get back to wood. Hi, Ryley.
Hi, Bob.
You know, we were building the frame for the deck last week, and now, as you can see, we've got most of the redwood decking in place down here, and it really is beautiful. Even though we're in a rain and we've just put a tent over ourselves, it really looks pretty.
Yeah, we're getting close to finishing it up, so I think we can get it done.
Now, one of the neat things about running a miter like this is that it's a very elegant and pretty detail, but
yeah.
What have you done to keep it from splitting up the ends?
What we've done is just a small round over bit with a router to take the edge off.
You've taken each one, and after you've made the miter cut, you've kind of run it through the router to get just a little bit of a bevel on there, right?
You're right, because you got to remember this is all pitching away from the house too, so this has got about a 2-degree back cut.
Just a little bit of a crown to it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. The important thing is to use stainless steel nails when you're working with redwood.
Definitely.
And the reason for that is that the acids in the redwood very often will cause a certain amount of black staining to occur if you use just regular steel nails. And the other thing that you really want to concentrate on is your nailing pattern, because this is really a finished deck. There's not going to be any stain on it. And you want to make sure that all the nails line up right down the whole section of deck so that you have that nice architectural feel to it. You got to go slow, right?
Yeah, there's no point in rushing at this point.
Absolutely beautiful. All right, now Ryley, you've got to work on some of the lattice for the fence, right?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Okay, now I want to take a close look at the fence because this is about as elegant as it gets. You can tell it's also redwood, but it's the type of fence design that, while being kind of a classic 19th century design, it also provides a very elegant fence from both sides, so the neighbor doesn't have to look at something that isn't pretty and that isn't finished right. This, which could be labor intensive, is actually store-bought. You can get 4x8 sheets of lattice made out of cedar, just like what you see here. You just have to order the heavy-duty stock. This costs about $50 for a 4x8 sheet, and obviously we've just cut sections to put in. But the rest of the work that you're looking at here has just been made on site. The tops of the fence have been cut on the table saw so that there's a bevel that lets the weather run off. The tops of the post have been decorated with an applied half-round bead, a molding that we cut right here with a router, as well as the molding that you see here and the caps of the posts. But let's get together with Danny Ruffini, who's been working on the fence. Hi, Danny.
Hi.
The rain is interfering a little bit, but this is really looking beautiful. Before we look at the detailing, though, the post that you've got in there, how far into the ground did you put those in?
We put that in 3 feet, and it's in hydrated cement.
Which means that you've just mixed some Portland with some dirt and some rocks. And of course, the post is pressure treated, but it's been dressed out with the redwood so that you end up with a very elegant looking post.
Right.
And how are we doing the actual fence
Well,
section?
this is rough sawn on one side and smooth on the other.
Tongued and grooved.
We install the smooth side on the deck side, and
And you've
basically
applied a ground around the whole perimeter of each panel.
Right.
Which
Right
again
here.
is redwood that's just been ripped to size on the table saw.
right, and then we take a center and we lay it out so that we have even spacing on both ends.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Because if you just start putting them in on one side, when you end up at the finish point, you might have to rip a board down to a half an inch or less. And you don't want to do that.
It has a tongue and groove, and we nail the groove side. We just tack it in here.
Again, we're using stainless steel nails, right?
Yeah, stainless steel nails.
Okay, now how do you nail the last one in, Danny?
Well, you don't. Should be just free floating here.
Exactly. It's going to have room to expand and contract depending on the weather and the season. And what really holds it in place is the ground
Right.
that has to be put in around all four sides. Oh, let me get out of your way, Riley.
This is all set.
Now this is another section of trellis that's just cut out of the 4x8 sheet to fit into this arched section of rail. Lucky guy, it fit perfectly, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah. Whoop, that goes across the top. Where's the bottom piece?
Right there.
Right here?
And these again
way,
are
yeah.
just tacked into place. Are you using 1-inch brads?
We're using the stainless steel nails, and then we'll cut them.
Okay,
So
so
we've
you've
got a
cut them down so that they're not quite as long.
Not as line as a blunt end, so it won't split the wood.
Now those are pretty straightforward, but what about putting the ground that goes under the arch?
That's the fun piece.
Yeah.
But there's two of us here, so it should be a little bit easier.
And you haven't put any kerf cuts on it at all?
No, it's just been ripped down to 1/4 of an inch, so we're going to double up on it.
Okay.
Put it up in two pieces.
So if it's a 1/4 inch, it'll bend without snapping in half, and then you'll add a second piece that's also a 1/4 inch so that you've built up to the necessary thickness.
Right, and we'll glue those two together.
I hesitate to watch. The one thing that I do want to look at is the cap that still hasn't been nailed down here. This is interesting. This is Danny's idea, but he's run the grain of the cap in one direction, and then there's a second board that's run in the other direction. So that if you think about it, you're getting that action of extra strength by running the wood grain in two opposing directions. And then, of course, it's just been dressed out with a half round applied all the way around the corner. I'm very happy with this, Spence. Nice job, guys. Thank you. We've got a break for messages. Don't go away. Okay, we're back. Anyone who's ever restored a house knows how frustrating it is to have to remove layers and layers of paint that's been built up over the years on beautiful woodwork, where the crispness of the detail has gone out the window. Well, we're going to get together with some experts today. Bob Sharon is here to explain to us a simple process that takes it all out in one kind of step. Before we get started, Bob, what's all this equipment here for?
Well, to start off, what I just turned on was a negative air filtration system. The purpose of this machine is to take the air from the inside environment there where my guys are working, draw it through a giant filter, and exhaust clean air to the outside environment.
So it's filtered, so no noxious fumes are actually being thrown outdoors?
No, there'll be no fumes, and there also won't be any particles or any different debris that comes from inside the environment.
Okay, and then what about the vacuum cleaners?
This vacuum here is equipped with the exact same filter as is inside here. This will be used for drawing any of the dry debris or any dust from inside there, filtering it and storing it inside that
So
container.
if you're using a palm sander or such a tool, the product of that process would go in through
It'll
here?
be drawn right in through that hose, exactly. Or if there's any debris that hits the ground and dries out, that will be filtered. It'll be sucked through the hose and filtered through that vacuum.
Okay, and what's the orange one?
The orange is a wet vacuum. As you'll see when you walk inside, we'll be taking chemical off using a lot of water, and the chemical itself has, you know...
Yeah. Now, one question. What do you do with the hazardous waste that's caught in there?
Well, we'll be taking these machines back into the environment, back into the containment there. We'll take all the debris out of them, bag it into 6mm bags, wrap it twice, duct tape it up good, bring it outside, and put it into a hazardous waste.
So it has to go to a hazardous waste dump?
Exactly. It goes into a 55-gallon drum.
And so we're in the dining room, and we've divided the room in half with this polyethylene wall, and all the real work is going over there on the mantelpiece and on the hutch. Let's take a look in there. Oh, wow, look at this up here, huh? That's exactly what I'm talking about when I say detail that had lost its crispness. All those little dentals up there, you could hardly tell they were there because so much paint had gone in there. Okay, so what exactly is going on here? I see you've got all sorts of paper on the woodwork. Describe the process for us.
What David's doing for us right now is he'll be applying a caustic paste onto the paint surfaces. Then he'll be taking paper, covering it, taping it in tight with duct tape to keep any air from getting inside and drying out the paste while it's removing the paint.
So the caustic soda is held within this this mixture, which almost looks like a joint compound.
Exactly, exactly.
And why do you have to cover it up with paper and duct tape?
To keep it from drying out. When it dries, it becomes very hard and very difficult to work with.
How long do you have to leave it on there?
Well, we did a time weight average on this. Is where we did a test batch. We found that 24 hours seems to be a perfect amount of time for the chemical to work and not to affect the wood at all.
Well, that's what I was going to get at, because if you leave the chemical on way too long, you can really raise the grain.
Oh, it can be very bad for the wood. What it will do is it'll take the moisture out of the wood, it'll take the saps out of the wood, the oils, and it'll really be
And
really
the
bad
wood
for
will
it.
start looking like felt.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So you literally have to slather it on pretty thick, don't you?
Yeah, we like to go between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. I mean, it can't hurt to be a little generous with it. What we've done, Bob, is we've covered all the chemical with paper, taped it in tight to keep air from getting into it, and now, within 24 hours, we'll be ready to peel away.
Okay, so it has to be on there for about 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 around there.
Oh boy.
So that comes off first.
So the layer comes off first.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you suppose all the brown represents? I don't think there was any brown paint on there.
No, I think that was a varnish that was on there at one point.
Oh, it draws the varnish and the stain out as well.
Exactly. It'll eat right through a urethane, right through a varnish.
That's it. So how many layers of paint do you suppose are coming off there?
I'd say at least 15.
Really?
It's been there for a good number of years. It was all good quality paints also. After all this bulk chemical is removed, we'll be washing this down with a solution, a peel-away neutralizing solution, which will remove all the extra stuff that's there. We'll wash it down into a drip pan where it can be vacuumed up with a wet vacuum and done with what I explained we'll
But
be doing.
this is a very important part of the process because you want to stop the caustic action on the wood, right?
Absolutely. If this isn't done correctly, when the painter goes to put his paint back on, it will just peel right off.
Exactly. So this is really important. And it's also important to contain all these chemicals, so that's why he's got this drip pan in the middle of it. And I guess you can start up with that vacuum cleaner, that wet vac, and
Absolutely.
collect it all as it starts to add up.
Yep.
But boy, I'll tell you, the payoff is when you look at this a day or two after it's been stripped, and we're just doing a little bit of sanding work to it, but look at this beautiful detailed mantle.
Yeah, Billy's really done a very good job with this.
It's gorgeous. Now, it's poplar wood, and it probably was always painted. And the egg and dart along the edge holds a little bit of residue, but that's all right. It's really going to look beautiful once it's totally been refinished. Hey, Bob, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice job. We've got a break for
Wonderful.
some messages. Don't go away. I wish you could smell the redwood. We're out of time. Come home again next time when we're going to be down in the basement looking at a brand new heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system. Don't miss it. Till then, I'm Bob Vila. It's good to have you home again.